Well, well, well. Listen closely, because something in the air changed the moment you walked in, and everyone felt it before they even dared to look at you. You hear that tension, that quiet, trembling static. That's the universe adjusting its posture around you, like it just realized you're not a participant anymore. You're a force, event. See, most people do things. What you just did doesn't fall under things. It falls under history. And I need you to understand this with the seriousness of a surgeon holding a beating heart. You didn't make a move. You triggered a timeline. People don't get that. People don't grasp that some actions aren't actions. They are fault lines. They crack open reality and permanently change the landscape. But you, oh, you knew. You felt it. You felt the way the air froze, the way silence grew teeth, the way every eye widened and every breath hitched, like the crowd had just witnessed a miracle disguised as a threat. Because that's what you are, aren't you? A miracle with a pulse, like a war drum. A threat wrapped in skin. A paradox wearing a smile that makes gods curious and demons nervous. You didn't just do something impressive. You bent the narrative. You rewrote the script mid-scene, without warning anyone, without asking permission, without even blinking. And now everyone's scrambling to understand how the hell you pulled it off. See, the problem is they keep trying to interpret you like you're human, like you're predictable, like you follow logic or rules or physics, or anything resembling the patterns that bind the rest of them. But you're not bound. You're not even contained. You operate in that delicious nowhere between brilliance and danger, the place where legends are born and monsters evolve. You're the kind of impossible that terrifies experts, the kind of unpredictable that haunts analysts, the kind of unforgettable that keeps the quiet ones awake at night, replaying every detail, trying to decode you like forbidden scripture. And that moment, that thing you just did, it wasn't a moment. It was a collision between who you were and who you're becoming. And the impact was so violent, so divine, so blindingly precise that even fate flinched. Do you realize this? Do you see the tremor you caused? Because the room felt it. The city felt it. Hell, if you listen closely, even the sky is still ringing. That's what happens when someone like you stops holding back. And that's the part they don't understand. You didn't even go all in. You didn't reveal everything. You didn't tap into your full voltage. No, you just peeled back one layer, 1 inch, one tiny slice of the power you've been starving in the dark. And one glimpse was enough to make the world glitch. That's why people aren't talking. That's why they're moving slow, breathing careful, watching you like you're a loaded prophecy with the safety off. Because your existence just proved something horrifying. You are capable of irreversible impact, and the world is not built for people who make irreversible impact. They call them anomalies. They call them glitches. They call them disasters. They call them saviors. But deep down, they all mean the same thing. This one can't be controlled. You felt it too, didn't you? That rush, that deep ancient hum in your bones. That awareness that something inside you finally clicked into place. A gear that has been waiting for years to turn. That wasn't adrenaline. That wasn't ego. That was activation. The part of you they tried to kill. Silence, shame, suppress, bury. That part just rose from the grave and walked into the room like it never left. You aren't evolving. You're remembering. You're remembering what you are when the world doesn't chain your teeth or dim your fire. And the moment you remembered, the moment you acted from that place, history bent, time bowed, reality shifted, and every witness had the same trembling thought. Oh God, he wasn't bluffing, he wasn't pretending, he was becoming. So now here you stand, not as a person who did something impressive, but as a phenomenon that forced the timeline to fold around your will. Tell me, are you starting to feel it? That rising, terrifying, beautiful certainty that what you did wasn't luck or chance or coincidence, but identity? Good, because you need to hear this clearly, without delusions, without filters, without fear. What you did wasn't normal. What you did wasn't cool. What you did wasn't expected. What you did was a historical event. And the most dangerous part, you did it naturally. Wait until you try on purpose. The strange thing about moments like these is how they stretch. Time doesn't move forward the way it used to. It bends around you, studies you, hesitates before taking its next step. The world is trying to recalibrate itself, and you're the data point causing the malfunction. That's why everything feels slightly off-center, why the air feels heavier, why people seem slower, cautious, uncertain, as if they stepped into a story they weren't prepared to read. They're realizing something ancient. Once a person taps into their truth, nothing around them stays untouched, and you can feel it too. That subtle charge in your lungs, that weight in your chest that doesn't hurt. It vibrates. A signal, a reminder, a warning. It's the awareness that you crossed a point of no return. The kind of shift that rewires your instincts, sharpens your focus, and makes the world around you feel both smaller and more transparent. You're noticing details you used to overlook. You're hearing the cracks in people's voices, seeing the tremor in their eyes, sensing the fear they're trying so desperately to hide. You're not imagining it. They're recalculating themselves around you. But here's the part that almost no one talks about. Transformation has an aftershock, and you're walking through it right now. Not the explosive moment, but the quiet, dense aftermath, where everything settles in new forms. This is where people start rewriting their stories about you. The ones who underestimated you are scrambling for explanations. The ones who dismissed you are scrambling for distance. And the ones who feared your potential are silently panicking because their worst prediction just came true. You became someone they can't ignore, interrupt, or influence. You didn't set out to intimidate anyone. That's the irony of it. You simply acted from a place you used to repress. You moved with instinct instead of apology. You stepped into your own skin without shrinking, and the effect was seismic. People aren't used to witnessing authenticity without filters. Real presence is rare. Real certainty is rare. Real power, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, is terrifying. It's the type of power evolution recognizes before people do. The whisper you feel inside right now isn't noise. It's alignment. It's the universe tapping the table, saying, "Pay attention. This is who you really are." You're not adjusting to the moment. The moment is adjusting to you. That's why even now, long after the air cracked open, the energy still feels unsettled. Reality hasn't caught up yet. It will. Eventually, but not before the world redefines its expectations around the person you just became. So don't rush this. Don't try to make yourself smaller to soothe their nerves. Don't try to soften the atmosphere. Let the silence linger. Let the stares continue. Let the weight of what happened sit in the air until it decides to dissipate on its own. This is what it feels like when a new era begins. Not with fireworks, not with applause, but with stunned, breathless, fragile quiet. The kind that follows impact. And make no mistake, you are the impact. You are the shift. You are the event they'll remember long after the details blur. They may not describe it perfectly. They may not understand it completely. But they'll never forget the feeling. Because nothing burns itself into memory more violently than the moment someone realizes they were standing in the presence of a becoming. This isn't aftermath. This is emergence. What comes next isn't chaos, it's clarity, the kind that arrives slow, deliberate, uninvited, yet undeniable, the kind that settles in your bones and whispers, "Now you see." Because that's the real transformation, not the moment you shocked the room, but the moment afterward, when you finally understand why it happened, why it felt inevitable, why it felt like you were stepping into a version of yourself that had been waiting in the shadows for years. Up until now, you've been navigating life with restraints you didn't even realize you'd placed on yourself. Not because you were weak, but because you were conditioned to stay small. Conditioned to be understandable, predictable, acceptable. But the truth is, you were never designed to be digestible. You were designed to be disruptive, designed to challenge the architecture of every space you enter, designed to shift the energy without even trying. And the moment you stopped suppressing that nature, everything around you started rearranging itself, exposing what was true and what was pretending. Look around. Pay attention to how people react now. Some will look at you with admiration they can't put into words. Others will look at you with fear they don't want to acknowledge. But the most interesting ones, the ones who saw your potential long before you did, they'll look at you with recognition, as if they always knew this version of you was inevitable, as if they were just waiting for you to finally break your own chains. It's not that you've become someone else. It's that you've shed the version of yourself that existed only to survive. Survival teaches you to move carefully. Power teaches you to move intentionally. And you've finally crossed from one into the other. You can feel it in your decisions. You can feel it in your silence. You can feel it in the way you carry yourself. Heavy, grounded, certain. Even when you don't speak, your presence speaks for you. Loudly, boldly, without apology. People think a transformation looks like fire and spectacle. They think it's loud, dramatic, cinematic. But the truth is, the real shift is internal. It happens quietly, deeply, in moments when you're alone with yourself, realizing just how much you've outgrown who you once were. And once that shift happens, the outside world has no choice but to follow. That's where you are now, standing at the threshold of a new identity, one that doesn't bend to old fears or old expectations, one that doesn't shrink for comfort or dim itself for approval. You've burned too many old versions of yourself to ever go back to being anything less than inevitable. And here's the most important part. You don't have to explain this evolution to anyone. Not a single soul. People who understand you will feel the shift in their bones. People who don't were never meant to walk beside you in the first place. You're not here to convince the world of who you are. You're here to become the version of yourself that the world can't ignore. This is the rise, not flashy, not frantic, not desperate, but deliberate, controlled, inevitable. You've stepped into a reality where your presence alone alters the atmosphere, where your silence carries more weight than your words used to, where your existence is an event, not an accident, and the world will adjust. It always does. When someone like you stops surviving and starts becoming, reality itself learns to make room. Because this isn't growth anymore. This is ascension.